NASA has been hiding stuff from us forever. There are structures on the moon, there are structures on Mars, and other places throughout our solar system. They have been concealing this stuff from us. To what end exactly? I don't know. But I think it is very interesting that this video comes on the heels of me making a video about ARVs, the alien reproduction vehicles, that have apparently been in existence since at least the 60s. Can they fly to other planets? Well, if they are true man-made UFOs, then yes. So are we interacting with these other planets? Well, let's get into some of that a little bit. By the way, I've got an assist from Baxter, so maybe give this video an extra big thumbs up just for Bax. This is Jack. I talk about, with Cosmic Road, of course, I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like. Please subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of future videos. Please follow me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. I would love to interact with you there. And please comment below as I'm going through the story. You can also choose to support the channel by becoming a channel member or buying one of my books, link in the description, or simply leaving a tip in the tip jar with the super thanks feature below. Okay, let's get into the story. We are going to go over NASA hiding stuff and what are they hiding. First, a little thing here. This is a presentation where he is showing some stuff. I'm not going to play the presentation, but look at that structure. Look at that. All right, look at this structure, guys. It is a ziggurat, if I'm saying that right, ziggurat, on the moon. You can see the wall, you can see the angle there, you can see that, you can see that, you can see the top structure. It is very much a ziggurat-shaped object on the moon. This is from a NASA photo from the 1960s. I recently talked about how a very credible person saw in the 1970s a NASA photo of a structure on the moon. And this is actually from the 60s. So very interesting that they knew about this at least since the 60s. And I just made a video about ARVs, alien reproduction vehicles. And it looks like we have been flying those since at least the 60s. Are the two things related? Did we build the structure? I mean, maybe. That doesn't really look like something that we would build. I mean, I think ours would probably not be as elegant as a ziggurat on the moon, but maybe I'm wrong. And yeah, there's a monolith. And let's see, there was a really interesting thing, if I can find it. Okay, check this out. This is really interesting. I am just going to play this, and we can pause it right there. Then you can see these wheel-like objects that are all very similar and have these similar structures in them. You see that? They seem to be structured and very similar to each other. And, you know, could that be natural? I guess. Maybe. But it looks like something created to me. And there's the ziggurat. I love that ziggurat. Yeah, and there's other stuff like that thing. Could that be natural? I mean, it's got two symmetrical looking holes there, two little holes there. You know, to me that doesn't look natural. There's the monolith. And let's see, is there anything else? Oh yeah, here's some other interesting things. I'll link to this video and you can check it out. But there are some examples of some possible things on the moon. And he's also talking about stuff on Mars. And he makes the interesting connection with the Masons. Buzz Aldrin was a Mason, and they actually conducted a Masonic rite on the moon when they landed. Interesting. And so anyway, that's one thing. I invite you to check that out, and so does Baxi. So let's go over this real quick. Ex-NASA employee saw high-res UFO alien craft photos ready to testify before Congress. May 9th, 2001, over 20 military, intelligence, government, and corporate and scientific witnesses came forward. All right, well, very good. As part of the disclosure project, Donna Hare, a photographic scientist, testified to have worked for NASA contractor Philco Ford in the early 1970s. She had a high security clearance to walk in NASA's photo lab and other departments. I think they mean work. I don't think she had a classification, agreement to walk in it. During the Disclosure Project press conference, Hare revealed that NASA covered up and eliminated space anomalies such as UFOs from the satellite photos. Hare has got several awards in the space programs. She dedicated most of her time as a technical illustrator to space programs. She created lunar maps and landing slides and had been working for 15 years as a subcontractor for NASA. Hare claimed to have had access to a place known as Building 8, from where she made contacts with high-ranking officials. Once she walked into a restricted area, which was NASA's photo lab, she noticed the lab had photographs of the moon taken from satellites. She was with a friend who pointed at one of the photographs, and surprisingly, she saw a round white dot. There she is. Below is a transcript of Hare's part in the disclosure program. At the time, I was talking to one of the techs in there, and he drew my attention to a NASA photograph. It had a dot on it, and I asked what it was. Well, he drew my attention to it, and I said, "Is that a dot on the emulsion?" He was smiling, and he had his hands crossed. This was an aerial photograph of the Earth. I'm assuming the Earth because it had pine trees on it, and the shadows of the craft or whatever it was were at the same angle as the trees, and by its very nature, a UFO. And I wanted to clarify that to the gentleman that was talking to me, so I did not know what this was, but I realized at this point that it's very secret. I asked him what he was going to do with this piece of information. He said they always airbrush these out before they sell them to the public. Where did it go? Yeah. He says they always airbrush these out before they sell them to the public, so they're pesky little creatures appearing on this photograph they want to get rid of. After that, I decided I would ask questions to other people that work there away from the site and not on site. A guard told me that he was asked to burn some photographs and not look at them. And there was another guard guarding him who was in green fatigues watching him burn the photographs, and he said he was too tempted. He looked at one. I knew someone in quarantine with the Apollo astronauts. He told me that the Apollo astronauts saw crap on the moon when we landed. He said that the astronauts are told to keep this quiet. And of course, that's something we've heard rumor of before. Hare was told by one of the sources that during one of the moon landings, 3 UFOs had landed. Subsequently, there was a code word Santa Claus for these crafts, and I've talked about that before. She said she would be willing to testify before Congress. In 2001, Gary McKinnon, a British hacker, and hacker is capitalized. I thought that was kind of amusing. A British hacker who got so fed up with the government hiding information related to UFOs and free energy that he decided to hack the most secured servers of NASA in the Pentagon. McKinnon said that he had seen real photographs of UFOs and computer files at the Johnson Space Center building. He even took a screenshot of one of the cigar-shaped UFOs in between space and the Earth's atmosphere. Unfortunately, it was removed from his computer after being seized. Below is the recreation of the famous not man-made craft that was seen by McKinnon when he hacked and accessed NASA computers. That is what he saw, apparently. Very interesting. I don't know if I've ever seen that, or at least I've forgotten it. I mean, of course, I've heard of Gary McKinnon's account many times and Very famous account, one of our best pieces of evidence for the secret space program. Anyway, but the secret space program is very fantastic, and it goes beyond the scope of this video. This video is just focusing on NASA hiding basic stuff. Let's just call it, this is the mainstream acceptable secret space program stuff. We've got ARVs from the 60s and 70s. We've got structures on the moon. There's some stuff going on. And here is some more. Let me mute that because it's got music. And just some more stuff. Some intriguing stuff that NASA has hidden. These are things that have leaked out that were the NASA footage. So, you know, check that out. This is stuff that NASA doesn't want you to know. Okay, there we go. A nice UFO. Definitely not a satellite. It's not a seagull. Nick West. You know, let's see. What is this? Are we coming to anything interesting? No? Okay. Anyway, so there are various things, you know, various UFOs that NASA has caught. And that they are not sharing with us. So they have been scrubbing this stuff, airbrushing it out, and just hiding it. They've been burning it, as we just saw. So NASA is up to their necks in this stuff. They've been hiding it. You know, I don't know how much association they have with the ARVs, the alien reproduction vehicles. And yeah, there's a huge UFO with weird things swirling around it. It looks very organic, but that thing is huge. That thing is really big. A giant cylindrical UFO. So yeah, so NASA has been hiding this stuff forever. There's structures on the moon. There's structures on Mars. Other places, it looks like there's structures on some of the moons of the planets. Let's go here really quick. This is John Keel. John Keel, in a 1967 letter to Jerome Clark, said UFOs are now being built on Earth using our industrial resources and technicians. Baxter just made a big sigh. He really liked that. But yeah, so ARVs being made in the 60s. John Keel knew about this. All of this is being readied for an evacuation to be held shortly before some cataclysm befalls the planet. And that is what John Keel said in a letter, that the ARVs, the alien reproduction vehicles, were being made and readied for an evacuation. Now, I don't know who he got that information from. I'm not going to read this letter to you right now, but I encourage you to go check it out. Fascinating stuff. The whole evacuation thing is something that I've heard before. It's even something that aliens or the beings have told abductees and contactees. Some of these guys are being trained. A lot of contactees and abductees during their process of abductions are being trained in certain things. And some of that is like crowd control. And they have been told that they are being trained in crowd control for event of evacuation to herd people toward the UFOs that will lift off. So, but, you know, that has, you know, they've been saying that for decades. A lot of these people have probably died of old age. They've been told they have some great mission to do this kind of thing, and then it never comes to pass. So, you know, to me, that's one more false narrative. But it's very interesting that what John Keel was told that humans were doing with these human-created UFOs, the ARVs, dovetails very much with what the beings are telling contactees and abductees. I think that's fascinating. And but anyway, so we have ARVs. We have since the 60s at least. NASA has been hiding information about UFOs and structures on the moon and Mars since the 60s. All of that is very credible. There's disparate sources for that. It goes beyond the silos of information. So I consider that very credible. It goes back decades. And it gets very weird because how big does it go? Does it really go into the Gary McKinnon stuff, the secret space fleet stuff? And I've seen some really compelling evidence for the secret space fleet stuff. Some of the most compelling evidence is what you can find of the deep underground military bases. And there's, if you see the videos of the outsides of those structures, they're massive. They're massive and they're very secret. And anything, I'll just say that if the deep underground military bases exist, then the secret space fleet almost certainly has to exist. But that's a subject for a different video. But I did want to illustrate how NASA is hiding stuff, and some of the stuff that they are hiding, these structures on the moon and other planets, and the seeming ability of humans to have gotten there since the 60s. You know, I think that's fascinating. I don't know what it means exactly. It certainly leans in the direction of the secret space fleet. Now, the secret space fleet is very fantastic. So is that disinformation? And are we actually looking in real life at a more scaled down secret space fleet? The ARVs going to these other planets and the moon and finding structures and interacting with whatever is there? Could the more fantastical elements of the secret space fleet narrative be put out there to confuse us and to make us think that all of this is very fringy, when the reality is actually pretty fantastic already, but it's a little bit more scaled down than that? You know, those are just some ideas that I have. And how does any of this go with the sorts of accounts that you hear when you hear the beings interacting with the military and the government? I don't know. You know, when you hear the Terry Lovelace sorts of stories about, 50 or more military guys aboard a giant UFO interacting with the beings there. You know, again, that's not an ARV. That's not a human-created craft. That is a non-human craft with non-humans on it, but humans participating in abductions. So how does that all go together? How do you put all these pieces together? I don't know, but I would be really curious to know your thoughts. So please let me know what you think in the comments below. A quick final thought. Just a question. What is exactly the interaction between the ARVs, the alien reproduction vehicles, in these structures on Mars, in the moon? We have, human beings seemingly, going back and forth from these planets and engaging in something with the beings. And meanwhile, NASA is launching rockets to the moon and putting on this big public show when apparently the government has the ability to go to these places anytime they want to go. So is that all a show? Or are there factions within NASA and compartments within NASA, and most of NASA is not involved in the secret stuff? They may genuinely be trying to get to the moon and other places, and all of that could be genuine endeavors on the part of NASA and these days other space exploration agencies as well. They may have no interaction with the ARVs and the secret space stuff beyond being told to eliminate the evidence. But this does illustrate how the control group and the secrecy of the control group is handicapping the evolution of the human race. Apparently, all this, launching rockets, etc., this slow crawl into space is completely unnecessary. We have the ability to go anytime we want. We could have colonized the solar system by now. Baxi agrees. He was giving himself a big hug. He thought that was a really good point. But there could be complications with colonizing the solar system, because there are structures on the moon and these other planets. Possibly the beings there don't want us colonizing the solar system. Or maybe we already have. In any case, NASA as it exists is completely pointless. We have the ability to go out there and do whatever we want in space. Something is holding us back from that. Is that the control group? Is that the beings working with us through the control group? I don't know, but I think these are very important questions. So again, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Please smash the subscribe button and hit the bell so you don't miss a single video. Please join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. And please, if you enjoy these videos, please consider supporting the channel by becoming a channel member. See the first line in the description below, and there's 2 tiers of membership to receive exclusive access in videos. Until next time, this is Jack with Cosmic Road.